This is Bector 99 talking to you live from the void. As you can tell by the title, there's going to be spoilers. And I'm talking about season 5 of The Boys, episode 6. So, for me, I think this is the best episode of the entire season. It's probably the best episode um, in a long while, going back to even the previous season. Throughout this whole final season, I haven't really enjoyed the religious angle. Um, I would have preferred that Homelander just wanted to live forever, um, or that he had more interesting motivations. But I guess if I'm being sort of generous to the plot, in a way, it does make sense. He wants everyone to love him. That's sort of like a foundational um, sort of character loop that they have implied since season 1, and you could make the argument that his desire to start a religion is sort of a shorthand way to do that, or easy way to do that, theoretically. But I still would have preferred something else. But the idea is, he doesn't want money. He doesn't want love. He just wants um, acceptance or admiration or things like this. So him becoming president or him making every country his, it's all, he would still be unhappy, even though he's going to be unhappy with this plan. But he even understands that the other things would make him unhappy. So maybe this religious idea of sort of dominating through religion um, would make him happier than just having all the countries, give him money or something like that. The star of this particular episode was the Paul Reiser actor. His character in the show is refreshing, even though he's being obscene every time you see him. It's sort of refreshing because it harkens back to a sort of comedy that we're no longer allowed to have in most um, television programs that are programmed or sent out to us through these major streaming platforms. So he's saying stuff, and obviously there's words he's not allowed to say, or just these comedy jokes that don't go over anymore without people being, sensitive about it. But I'm not gonna get sidetracked on that. But his character, I liked it. I liked his sort of commitment to the bit and his voice, and obviously his age. Um, he's really playing up I come from like a more sleazy time in Hollywood, but they're doing it through a sort of a gleeful or playful lens. They're not making it like a Weinstein thing. He's just a sex crazed sort of maniac, but he has a heart of gold kind of thing. So that's kind of interesting to me, and his scenes are great. He's like a schmoozer, a person that you put him in any room, he'll figure something out. And that's why I liked how he could survive The Boys, and then you put him in a scene with Homelander, and he even talks his way through that. Um, I I was expecting Homelander to kill him, but there are parts of my mind hoping he'd get out of it, or he'd just be like this character that's just like, you know, fuck, how does he keep, getting out of these situations, kind of thing. Um, so that whole bit where he touches Homelander and Homelander pretends like, well, he acts like this guy just touched me. And so I never want anyone to forget that the actor that played Homelander, he tried to beat up a chef in a restaurant a couple years ago. Now, we're not products of our past or anything like that, but just the idea is you got to have a certain level of entitlement and a certain level of cocaine. And I don't know if he really does cocaine, right? I'm just saying, I'm joking and extrapolating. But do you know how entitled you have to be in like a luxurious restaurant and then be eating something or receiving service, and for whatever reason you don't like it, and you say, you bring me the goddamn chef now, and then the chef comes out, then you hit the chef over the head. Again, this is all allegedly. I don't know exactly what he did to the chef, but I'm saying that's kind of crazy, because most times in all my fantasies of going to a 5-star restaurant or a restaurant of that caliber, I want to meet the chef because the chef knows who I am. And he just wants to say, oh man, that was great. What do you want tonight? And I say, oh, chef, just do whatever you want. Not be sitting there and say, bring me the chef so I could go WWF on his ass. Right? So whenever Homelander acts entitled or like he hates people, I'm just saying that that's for a celebrity or a rich person, and not everyone, right? It's just a generalization. But it's not a stretch for a celebrity to act obnoxious because they're either around other people that act like that or they act like that themselves. So it's not a stretch. So basically, when Homelander lets him go, lets Paul Reiser's character go, because that talk that they had, and then the fact that Paul Reiser wasn't afraid of him, or he could tell by his heartbeat that Paul Reiser's character, I mean, we can interpret it a lot of ways, but the most basic reading of that scene is that the fact that Paul Reiser was talking to him, even knowing that his life was in the balance, he wasn't bullshitting him. And he was trying to give him real advice. Now, I thought he was going to get killed because the advice that he was given wasn't really pertaining to anything that Homelander needed to hear. I was like, it's kind of like, to me, it was like a non sequitur, all that. You gotta, hey, just shit just happens, man, yada, yada, yada. And obviously the only thing that Homelander really gets out of that is actually being talked to as a person, not as, someone that's going to kill you or super strong or a freak. I know that was in that moment after his long ass day and everything he's been going through, whatever, in his mind, it was nice or refreshing for him. So he was just like, just go, I won't kill you. The Homelander calls the VOD alert people to find out where Bombsight's love interest is at. He goes over there. This starts like the final part of the show. There's a lot of things happening in this, sort of the finale of this episode, or this particular episode. Bombsight, I think they made a mistake having Bombsight come into this show now, because his character, handsome actor, but his character's kind of stupid, because you know, I understand that I'm not, I'm not everybody. Not everyone thinks the way I do. But I'm not giving up my fucking superpowers. And immortality is, the show is pushing this narrative. Immortality is boring. I'm like, and no, it's not. You're gonna have to watch all your friends die. Um, okay. I'm not giving up my powers to be normal. And so if I watch the prequel show, it doesn't matter because his story ends stupid, which is he was in love with the girl wanted to age normally. He breaks up with her to go fuck off and wait until maybe she changes her mind. Makes no fucking sense. The whole idea that he spends half of his life on heroin or whatever, that's a stupid character flaw. They should have made him be exactly what Soldier Boy isn't or wasn't. But maybe that's gonna be Soldier Boy's brother will be the sort of the goody two shoe or whatever. But giving him this backstory where he's just like a fuck, he's just a drug addict and stupid and whatever. I don't want to see none of that on the prequel show. And then on top of that, he's gonna spend his whole life being fucking stupid when he could have been with the girl and made sure she didn't have to live in the home, the old people's home, whatever. And it takes him 40 years to figure out, well, if I love her, I should just be with her. So that kind of killed some of the momentum for me watching the prequel. Um, Sister Sage's plan is still stupid. The whole bunker thing. I do like how they wrote it to where she keeps getting to say Crunchwrap Supreme, like when people are like talking about how stupid her plan is, but she's like, you don't understand. Or like, have you had a Crunchwrap Supreme? I like that, and then I like the whole when she had the blooming onion back in the day when she used to kick it with the deep or whatever. Um, I remember when they first had that scene where she sleeps with the deep in one of the seasons ago. When they showed you the lobotomy tool, I thought Homelander had did that to her and like permanently or whatever. And I said, "Ooh, that's cold." Like he had used her for whatever he wanted, and then he made sure that she wasn't gonna be smart anymore. But then obviously they say that her brain regenerates or whatever. But I thought that would have been like a crazy fate to be, broken that way, strategically, I suppose. So they're all there in the finale. Homelander shows up. Homelander allows Bombsight to get away, um, which would have been well, I guess it'd have been, I don't know, more interesting if if Homelander killed Bombsight and then Soldier Boy still gives him the serum, I guess you can say. But in terms of how Homelander was gonna get the V1, I was thinking maybe he was never gonna get it. And then I guess I wasn't thinking that I wasn't thinking that Soldier Boy was just gonna hand it over. And in fact, I didn't think Soldier Boy was gonna be um, a part of that scenario. I wanted to backtrack for a second here. The Deep versus Black Noir. I thought that fight was stupid. Like in terms of like they just cut all the corners on that shit, you know? For me, I'm gonna say budget reasons. Their fight should have been more. It should have some actual choreography to it. The dude can fly. Why didn't he fly out of the building? Why didn't we set up that he had been training to fight like the original guy? So he's method acting. He doesn't know how to fight. Yada yada yada. He just gets hemmed up and dies. So to me, it kind of pissed me off because they just keep. I mean, it must be a running joke to them. Obviously, they didn't play it funny this time, but just every Black Noir just gets fucked up. Like the original one got beat up by Soldier Boy and pretty much disabled, and this new one gets beat up by the Deep, and then the Deep looks shocked at himself that he killed the guy. It was like, what even is this? So, and in fact, I thought that when the pipeline broke, I thought it was the Sage that did it, just to discredit him or whatever, not the Black Noir went down there, punched a hole in there, and then he just sits there in a chair talking shit and then gets hemmed up and doesn't really fight back um, sort of intelligently, like with any kind of immediacy or I can fly, Nick, he's behind you, fly, get him off you, do whatever you got to do. Does none of that, just gets killed. So, but yes, I did enjoy the Paul Reiser Homelander confrontation. And then obviously this episode ends on a cliffhanger. And if I was a celebrity, obviously I'd already have all the episodes. But even if I didn't, I'd be texting Jeff Bezos like, bro, just let me see that shit, dog. Like I don't want to wait 2 more weeks. But past that, yeah, no, this one was one of the like I might rewatch this episode, down the line. Like I'm not gonna watch this whole series over again, nothing like that. But this one had layers, man. In terms of the Paul Reiser, his character, it's pretty much like this episode let him shine, and then he's moving through navigating these scenes and being threatened. But he's just using his natural sort of gross lovability to find a way to survive. And then, in this moment, I have to spend like another week to figure out, what's the next hour going to be like. And then obviously the finale's coming up. Um, but yeah, so it's, I think that's a good enough place to leave my little review at. So back to now. Peace.